Want to live longer and better? I'm Dr. Jess, I'm a physical therapist, and in this podcast, I bring you real, science-backed strategies from physical health providers, mental health providers, and nutrition experts, so you can build strength, protect your mind, and fuel your body for decades to come. Longevity starts here. Balance between a lot of different things. So in today's episode, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Is the one underlooked key is balance for living a longer, healthier life. And today with me, I've got John Propes, my co-host, who stands by my side every single day running my office and big time believes in everything that we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Longevity is a big part of everybody's life, and we all need to understand how we achieve that to help better move forward. So when we think about longevity, why is balance more important than just focusing on one area?
So when we think about longevity, it's not just about, do I look a certain way? Longevity is honestly, how can I make sure I have enough movement in my day, my week, my month to keep my organ system strong? Am I eating well enough to be fueling my body and keeping hydrated as well so that my organ systems are running how they really could run at an optimal level? And am I keeping my stress levels in a balance as much as I possibly can to keep that mental health in check? And then am I also recovering on a day-to-day basis? So you can't just focus on just exercise or just nutrition or just stress management or just recovery, because they're all key component pieces. So if we think about an orchestra, when you've got all of these instruments playing together, it creates this really beautiful sound. But if you've got the saxophones going a little bit nuts and then the flutes are like, you can barely hear them, it's like you're just almost put off. This actually hurts. And that's what we're doing to our bodies when we don't achieve that balance, is that something hurts, something isn't going to function well. And so if we really want our bodies to do what we want, which is age well so that we live a long quality life, then we need to think about it as an orchestra. So everything is able to jive like it's supposed to and really get that nice, beautiful output, which is our physiology.
So as a provider who sees patients day in and day out, what are some of the things that you've seen when people overinvest into one area, like fitness or nutrition, and not balance everything together?
So if something's seeing me, something's not going well. That's why somebody comes into the office. And so I see people when there's breakdown. And so I see a lot of athletes. I treat a lot of different things. I've got an oncology program, we've got movement impairment program, and then we've got athletes and things like that as well. And so if we look at athletes as an example of people that really put a lot of effort into whatever sport that they're participating in, then we get injuries and breakdowns. And it could be something that was preventable. It could be something that was really just an overuse injury or an imbalance in the muscular system with how everything needs to function as far as biomechanical chains. And so it leads to breakdown. If we just focus in on nutrition and then we don't focus in on other things, then we're going to have strength deficit. We're going to have potentially higher stress levels that are difficult to manage, so it can affect interpersonal relationships. We're not focusing maybe on recovery, and so we're just depleted on a day-to-day basis instead of feeling better. And so it's when you put all of your eggs into one basket and hyper-focus, other things are going to break down. That's just what happens.
Is there a such thing as a singular magic pill for longevity?
No. It would be great, right? That would be the easiest way of living a nice, long, healthy life, is we take this pill and it does it for us, or it's one special movement that everybody should do and all of a sudden they're going to be 90 and happy. It doesn't work like that. Our systems of our body, we've got our nervous system, our lungs, our heart, our organs, all of them need to be supported, and how they're supported is in different ways because they function in very different ways. We're very complex creatures when it comes down to it from a cellular level, which is amazing and awesome and needs work.
So why do you think it's so tempting to chase things like that?
Well, because it's the easier scenario. You don't have to feel like you're so divided. You can hyper-focus on something that you can control. Because as humans, we love control. We love when it's like we can predict what's going to happen. This leads to this, and it's like, as long as I do this, I'll get this outcome. And the reality is that we don't have control. It doesn't matter. You could do everything perfect and you could still end up with cancer, right? And that feels very like, oh, that's uncomfortable, and that can produce anxiety. And so it's, instead of getting comfortable with uncomfortable and not being in control, it's much easier to have a false sense of control so that we can hyper focus and put our energy there. And that comes down to the mental health part of really living our lives and being okay with not being in control.
So there's no magic pill, no magic bullet that we can chase. So what are some small daily habits that we can do to help balance our lifestyles?
So it just comes down to really accountability. And so trying to hold yourself accountable to things that are going to be helpful for you. And because we all need that. I need that. And I really try and live and breathe this every single day. And so when it comes to accountability, you can use a person to help hold you accountable to whatever it is that you are trying to be more consistent with. So it could be exercise, it could be what you're choosing to eat, it could be utilizing stress management techniques and reporting to that individual if they worked or didn't work. It could be something where you hold yourself accountable via a journal. And so at the end of the night, maybe you write down, how did you do with whatever it was that you were trying to be more consistent with, so that during the day you're gonna write down either what you want to write down, which is like, I crushed it, or you're gonna write down, well, I didn't crush it today. Well, then identify why. That's just the learning opportunity there. Other ways that I hold myself accountable is I set alarms and reminders. Honest answer, I have a bedtime alarm. I am a night owl. I can work well into the night and I can hyper focus, and it's not good because then in the morning I am just crushed. So I have an alarm that is like, hey, bedtime is in 30 minutes. And then the next one is, you need to be in bed. And it helps me say, that's my 30-minute warning. I need to start wrapping it up. Because at the end of the day, if I don't recover, I'm no good to anybody. And so it's really like, you've got to focus on recovery. And that's a huge challenge for me and something I actively work on. And then the other thing is really just thinking about, how can you use visual things during your day to help you put things forward? So as an example, I love plants. I have plants all throughout my office. And so when I look at a plant, I take a breath, and that's my cue. Take a breath, check in, say hi to that plant, which is a grounding technique. And it's a way for me to think, ooh, was it hard for me to take that breath? I might be feeling kind of tense. And it gives me that pause in the day to say, check in with yourself. Are you getting ramped up, or are you totally good? And if we don't have that pause to understand how am I doing, then the day can go on, and then all of a sudden you've got a headache at the end of the day, and it's just, you feel like irritated, and it doesn't need to be that. It could be something as simple as identifying earlier in the day what's going on, and that's gonna just, it moves that day forward in a completely different light, and it helps you realize, what am I holding on to this negative energy for? This is no big deal. I was irritated by what somebody told me or how somebody said something, but like, does it really matter? No, let it go. If you don't take the pause, you're never going to realize that that's what's building in your undercurrent.
So if someone feels stretched thin, maybe work is demanding or home life is demanding, where do we start?
So this is where I live my life, stretched thin, business owner, parent, all the stuff, right? So anytime I'm feeling like I just can't take a breath, I can't fit it all in, the answer is not an option. So it's, your life matters. It really does. And so if it feels like it's too overwhelming, then find what can give. Something needs to be able to give. So either taking something off your plate, delegating something to somebody else. So that could be asking for help. That's not a strength of mine. And I have to do it on a regular basis of what can I have somebody else do instead of me. The other thing is trying to figure out, is there somewhere where you can be more efficient? And so an example for me is cooking. I do not take time on the weekdays to cook. I don't. By the time I get home, if I want to get in a quick workout, help with homework, help with bath time, really spend quality times with my kids, if I'm standing in the kitchen, by the time I get everything out of the fridge, cut it up, chop it, cook it, get it served, clean all of that up, what am I really accomplishing? What positive did that give me? Instead, I meal prep on the weekends, so that way it's a quick heat up. And so for me, that was a huge difference for on that day-to-day basis of where I was getting caught up and feeling like I can't take care of me, I'm not connecting with my kids, I'm just checking things off instead of being present in my environment. And so sometimes it's just about efficiency. If you can't delegate it or take it off or move it somewhere else, find where you can be more efficient. And then that will help you now not feel so spread thin. And you can find that 20 minutes that you can focus on you for either exercise, mental health, meditation, whatever it might be. But that 20 minutes can make or break you at the end of a week.
So how do you personally check in with yourself to make sure that you are staying balanced?
So I've got a couple different techniques that I use. My quick check-ins are talking to my plants. I've got plants right back here. We've got Lucy, we've got Phoebe. They're amazing. So that's my quick, how are you doing? Phoebe's feeling awesome. I'm feeling awesome. We're good. Or is Phoebe feeling moody? Am I feeling moody? Right? So that's the quick check-in. The other check-ins that I like to do are, especially when I come in from a run, I like to end, I do stretching at the end, and then I lie down on the foam roller. I practice some diaphragmatic breathing, a little bit of meditation, and then I just check in with, this is at the very beginning of my day. So I check in with like, how are you feeling? Like that run wasn't the best run. Why was that? Were your legs feeling heavy? Were you tired? Is it just like I hadn't recovered from a long day in the yard 2 days before? Who knows, right? But just take that pause of like, what's going on here? Why are you not recovered? And identify it. And then just that breathing, that breath work is just great for stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system and just calming everything down so that I'm ready to go for patient care once I come into work. And then at the end of the day, I do a similar type of check-in. So before I go to bed, I do just like some guided meditation, and I like to check in of how are you feeling? At the end of the day, if I'm trying to lay down and breathe and I'm like all tense, whoa, there's no way you're going to sleep well if you're like carrying the day with you and then you're like, come on, fall asleep, let's go. It doesn't work. You've got to have time to process, what am I still holding on to? What am I anxious about? What am I upset about? What am I worried about? And see if I can make some sort of a plan. Not that I have to have the answer right now, but do I have time in my day tomorrow where I can focus on a solution? And if I can say, I'm going to earmark 8 to 9 to be able to focus on whatever this is, then I can fall asleep knowing that I've got a plan in place. So I really try and have multiple checkpoints that I do consistently, which helps me be able to find that balance and identify, just pause to identify what isn't driving well. Because if you don't pause, you'll never identify it unless it's like a raging fire.
Absolutely.
So the moral of the story is when we're talking about longevity and really trying to live that longest, healthiest life, when we think about balance, it's not about necessarily juggling, where we're just like frantically keeping everything moving. Think of it more as the orchestra. It's a finesse. We're kind of got a little bit more of one thing, a little bit less of something else, and something else comes in a little bit more, and then something else comes out. And so it's just constant ebb and flow of how much energy we're putting into our movement, our nutrition, our stress management, and our recovery, and it's never perfect. It's never like one thing is spot on and you never have to focus on it again. We're constantly having to check in to see, is this working? Is it not? Am I feeling good? Am I not? Is this recovery working? Am I not? And that's the actual answer, is that you're always growing with it. You've never mastered it. And that's the beauty, is that you're not in control. You're going to make mistakes. And that's how you learn, and that's how you grow. And then you can start sharing that growth with others in your life, and then help somebody else, and then learn from each other. And then now that's where it becomes really beautiful, because as a community, we can actually get stronger and healthier together. So if this is something that you found helpful, share it with somebody that maybe wants to be on this journey with you, and make sure to check in for next week so that we can continue to have honest dialogue and conversations that you feel good about.